Hello, I'm Regina Botras, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. I'm joined by Lucinda Gleeson. She is an actor, director and producer, sometimes lighting designer, and most recently appointed artistic director of playback theatre in Sydney. She cut her teeth as a director at Tamarama Rock Surfers. That was before it was the Old Fitz. She's directed a trilogy of Benito di Fonzo plays. He's a friend of ours. She's also directed Crushed by Melita Rowston at the New Theatre and Golden Delicious by Mary Rachel Brown. And she's here to talk about a new work, The Arrogance by Olivia Clement, which is on at King's Cross, KXT Broadway. It was shortlisted for the Griffin Award in 2021, a powerful, tender, new Australian work, as I said. Welcome, Lucinda.
Thanks, Regina.
Thanks for coming.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So I wondered about this work. What is the arrogance in the work?
They all have, it's a three-hander, there's three characters in it, and they each have the arrogance at some point in the story. Essentially, what really drew me to it is it's stunning writing. It's beautiful writing. And there's these wonderful conversations that she just articulates so beautifully, which are it's a conversation between a dad and a daughter, or a woman and an older neighbour, for instance. They're the characters. And there's these conversations which, had they been had 5 minutes earlier or yesterday or in a week, they might have had a really different outcome. But because of the nature of exactly where they are in the play, these clashes, they really have ramifications. And that idea of not being able to go back and refix, sort of tweak your own conversation. So you can say things in the heat of the moment, and depending on your relationship with someone, it can go really well and you can go, look, I'm really sorry, I didn't think that, or whatever. But in these instances, those conflicts really make a big difference.
There are consequences for their conversation. So are they clashes? It's quite argumentative, or people are forced to push their own point of view, or especially in the kind of father-daughter, I suppose, that has that kind of emotional baggage of maybe time or knowing someone intimately.
For me, the element that I resonate with the most is estrangement in this play.
Right.
And it affects each of the characters in particular ways, and it's about that. These kind of conversations, they're conflicted, and they kind of characters that hold grudges or remember the hurt, won't let go, won't move on, and what that does to them because of their, I suppose, stubbornness or arrogance, you might say.
Right.
So it's sort of what happens when they don't correct the conversation or make amends or apologize. What's a correct apology look like? And you can apologize, but does it really mean that the other person will forgive you? And you might forgive 1 minute, and then 2 years, 2 weeks later, you might go, hang on a second, that really pissed me off, or whatever. So it's that kind of stuff that it's dealing with.
It sounds like time has a bit to do with it as well. Like you said, the heat of the moment and the things that you say that you can't take back. But also, I have had those things where, you don't think about it at the time. You're like, no, that's fine. And then it just haunts you. And you're like, no, I actually didn't say exactly what I felt. Or, over time, things can niggle away at you. It sounds like the consequence of your actions, this sort of butterfly effect or effect over time. What time are we in? Where are we in the play?
So it's set in Iowa, which I think I've been to.
Oh.
Well, actually, I've been to Nebraska. We were on the border and maybe we stepped in. I can't remember. It was a late night. So we're in Nebraska, and throughout the play, we revisit conversations that the main character, Amber, revisits conversations that she's had with her father in Thailand. So they're the two places. And Amber and her father are Australian, and the neighbor is in Iowa, and she's Iowan. I suppose that's what you call them.
But the writer is actually a French-Australian, from what I read.
Yeah. So she was born in France, actually, but then from about the age of 6 was raised in Sydney, and has recently been teaching in the poetry workshop in Iowa at the university. Iowa City has a really amazing writing program. Iowa itself has a really high level of literacy.
Wow.
Yeah.
How fantastic.
Who knew? So she's been doing amazing things there. And I think she's now just this, she's actually delayed at the airport right now waiting to go home because she had to leave early because she has got a new job in Massachusetts. So she's going really well in the States. Yeah.
Jet setter. Did you know her in Australia? How did you come across the play?
It really is the fault, I like to say. It's still your fault, Whitney. It's Whitney Richards. She is the catalyst that brought everyone together. So she was working at Griffin and came across this script when it was nominated for the Griffin Award in 2021. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened with it there, and she asked them were they considering doing anything with it, and they weren't. And so she kind of contacted Olivia, the playwright, and struck up a relationship talking about her and Julian, the dramaturg. They were both really keen to see this play because it's a subtle play. It's one of those plays that if you were reading 10 plays in one day, it doesn't necessarily stick out really, but it's really beautiful. Whitney is the one who was like, I desperately want to put this on. I definitely want to put it on, and was just going to produce it. And then after having all these conversations back and forth with Olivia and stories overlapping, being on the same page, it became apparent that it would make sense for her to do the role. And there was actually another director attached to it whose play has gone, I think, maybe on to do other things. And a friend of ours, a mutual friend of Whitney and I knew Whitney vaguely through work, but a mutual friend of ours suggested me. I haven't directed for 9 years, so it's been kind of an amazing journey, really.
Yeah. How is it to be back in the room and to be like looking at, I mean, because you obviously, I've seen you in many a foyer, so it's not like you haven't been around, but all of that watching over the years, it kind of gets in. How is it? Like, has it been challenging? What have you found with this work?
It's a really beautiful room. I love it. It's really great. And I always love working with new work. So and it has challenges because of that. And there are things you come across and you're like, hang on, what do they mean here? And, I feel like I like working as an ensemble and unpacking it as an ensemble and discovering things in a group rather than, I don't know how other people work. It's hard to say, but it's been really lovely being back. I don't know what will happen. It's challenging, but also very comfortable and a joy, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was reading some information you sent me, and Lyndon Wilkinson's sort of describes it in kind of what you were saying, in that it is this sort of simple yet really insightful work about generations and blaming each other. And, there are certainly some things I carry with me that have happened in my past. Is it about a comment on forgiveness? Is it about, can you actually forgive someone, or what does it mean to forgive someone? Maybe
definitely, it's about that definitely comes into it of how can you forgive people who really hurt you, and I suppose it's an attempt to articulate the reasons why you can't just draw a line, or because you love them. So it's about loving someone who hurts you.
Because the main character is also pregnant, so I suppose you've got this father-daughter, and then what
Mm-hmm.
you start to reflect on what you want for the future. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah, that's right. It's the generational thing is big in the thing of like, what do I want to pass on and what would I prefer not to pass on? And obviously these things aren't necessarily pick and choose. You can't go shopping, but it's like how she does have the pregnancy does bring all this stuff to the front of her thinking, and she really is reassessing and assessing and trying to reconcile it in her head. And yeah, and just that idea of like, one of the things I love about it is that she's like, I read this thing that closure doesn't exist, and I kind of think that that's a really accurate thing of like, well, it doesn't really. I mean, you might think it does. You might there's a line in it like, you might think that you have this thing that feels like closure, but really these kind of things, depending on how deep they are, depending on the healthy ties or whatever you've got, can really come back and erupt again, or forgiveness was never given. Platitudes to get you by at Christmas or whatever, but actually there's a seething energy and
waiting to explode.
Yeah, that's right.
So, talking about this sort of, Iowa, which I didn't know it had such a poetry and writing scene with Thailand, like how spatially you're working with the space and the places in it. And, I know you've got an accent coach as well. So they're obviously American accent. How spatially, how are we reflecting place?
The design is beautiful by Soham Apte. It's the most exquisite black on black design, which I know people who know me and who know I always wear black are like, they can't believe that it wasn't my idea. They're like, surely it was. And I'm like, no, but I love it. It's so black. We wanted to make it abstract. We didn't want to have one end, because it's traverse at KXT. So we didn't want to have one end as Thailand and one end as Iowa. We wanted it to be, when we're in Thailand, we take up the space, and when we're in Iowa, we take up the space. And that's sort of, it kind of makes sense. But we're in this sort of, I like to think of it because one of the beginning images is of the moon, and she kind of uses the moon to reflect about herself when she's by herself in the backyard at night. So lovely. And the floor is like, it's just like a little tiny segment of the Earth's crust. That's what I like to think of it as. So it's like the universe, the moon in the universe, and the stars and the firmament. She's out there reflecting about what it is she's up to. And then what we're watching though is this little tiny little slice of Iowan backyard.
Could be anyone's backyard. Yeah.
It's the neighbors. It's where their backyards kind of overlap, and there's a motif of deer, because apparently in Iowa, through the streets there you have some deer, packs of deer. What are they called? I don't know what a collective noun for deer are. But,
a darling of deers.
A darling.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or actually, the Erin, the character who's from Iowa in the play, she said they're a pain in the ass. Yeah, so I think they're kind of annoying, but they're gorgeous,
And you've got a composer, is this recorded, or is it like someone who's made the music, or it's not live music? I assume
it's not live music, although I do love working with live music, and it would have been wonderful to be able to incorporate a live musician on stage, which was kind of an idea right at the beginning, and then it wasn't feasible really. Baran Yildiz, he plays the handpan, and it's like amazing, really.
Disc,
they look like little spaceship aliens.
I've seen it, yes. I know it,
Yeah, we had him play after one of the performances last week, and they're very curious looking things. And he worked with Ashlyn Birmingham, our sound designer. Ashlyn used some of the pre-recordings to create the soundscape. The sound is really beautiful, and there's that word again. And
we love beautiful.
It really is. There are so many actual very gorgeous elements in it. Yeah, the sound is exquisite. It's great.
So tell me about playback theatre and what's going on there.
Playback theatre. Playback theatre is improvised theatre, and it's what is it? We basically play back people's stories. So we go into organisations with organisational change, or schools, or we can just have public performances, and we hear from stories from the audience and we play them back. And it's an improvised company, so we play them back immediately. And we practice with, sound, and we have a musician in that, and we kind of, use theatre and our bodies and to metaphor to sort of place the story in a different light sometimes, depending on the story. Sometimes it's like just fun, but sometimes it's like it gives a different framework or a shape, or we place it in different social contexts so people can look at their story in a different manner. But yeah, it's a worldwide thing. It started in New York in the 70s, and as Sydney Playback Theatre has been going, I think it's the longest. We have a rival with Melbourne, but we think we've been going the longest. They think they have. Never mind. But it started in New York in the 70s, and as such, it's kind of it's like an improv. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's like, oh, okay.
Must be such a thing to see your story played out like that. Like, what kinds of stories? Is there one that comes to mind recently or something?
There's so many, really. We've had, like, the most recent one comes to mind was a chap who was teaching at a school, and they were troubled teenagers, and he was really making strides in kind of helping them with their work and that sort of stuff. And then there was a fight, and he wasn't able to
have a voice with it.
He wasn't able to. Yeah, he kind of, all that stuff, all the good work that he'd done, and kind of went right back to the beginning. Things like that, where you're like, it's a story in your life that you don't necessarily tell when you're at a barbecue or whatever, or like at the pub, but it's something that's happened that you're thinking about, or still kind of working out, still processing, really, in a way. Yeah, and things like death of a grandparent. Like, sometimes we'll have what is it called, SRC, Student Representative Council people come along, and so their stories are, teenage stories are really like, it's the first time they've encountered death or sex or whatever it is, and so they're really kind of big and rich stories where they're, it's life and death type stuff. And and then when you speak with older people, it's a much different quality.
Comes out. Interesting. Well, with that said, this is another story, and I have seen some of the stills online, and they look gorgeous from The Arrogance. Lucinda Gleeson, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad we got you.
I know, thank you. Yes, there's 5 performances to go.
Well, Lucinda Gleeson there with The Arrogance, playing at KXT on Broadway only till this Saturday. So get your tickets fast. It is time to get out to the theatre. Trisha Stars is coming up, and Uncle Vanya at the Ensemble.